Hello. How's it going?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. Okay, so let's. Oh, thank you, Grandma, for the $5 super chat right off the bat. I appreciate
Aw.
it. And hold on. Okay, let's say hi to some people. Oops. So, well, actually, first, I should probably introduce you. So, this is Allie Cattails. You guys probably recognize her from chats and stuff. She is
Hi, guys.
very nice. She's got a cute little kitty there.
Here's one of two. The other one, I'm sure, will make an appearance later.
Yeah. So this was actually her idea to do a stream with me. So I'm gonna let her take over a lot of it. So let's first say hi to some people. Gemini Guy, Debbie Holiday, Troy, Texas Granny, De-Icer, Scrappy Doo. I'm glad that you finally made it to one of my Monday shows also. Arizona Traveler, Sancho, Stephanie, Wes Robinson, Watcher of Crazy, High Frequency, Dale C, Inky, Crimson, Crystal Ann, hello, Snooks, Nothing Compares, Nick, hello, how are you doing? Where's Kay? She needs
Uh-oh.
to get her ass over here too. No.
Drama.
Anything for Lena and Graham Knott. If I didn't already say that, I think I got everyone. So, oh, thank you, Gemini Guy,
Aw.
for the $5 super
Equalizer.
sticker. Oh, Equalizer's here too. Equalizer said front stuff this time. So,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so
It's early.
so do you want to go ahead and explain to everyone kind of what we're going to be talking about today?
Sure. No.
Or should I address the elephant in the room first?
I.
Yeah, maybe, because I know that everyone wants to know what happened to Jim's
Hold
channel.
the audience.
Yeah. No, well, it's okay. I mean, I don't have anything to really tell them anyways. So everyone wants to know what happened to Jim and X's channel. I don't have those answers. So, they have their means of communication out there. You guys can get a hold of them if you have questions. I don't have any answers, nor would it be my place if I did. So, that's pretty much as far as I'm going to go with answering questions about that, because I literally just don't know. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys want to talk about stuff in the chat amongst each other or your feelings, whatever, that's fine. I just, if we could refrain from being like disrespectful of anyone or each other, stuff like that.
Yeah. That
How
makes
do you
sense.
say this? Godless Manitoban? Is that how you say that?
Manitoban, maybe.
Manitoban?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes I see
I'm gonna guess.
the names and I'm just like, I don't know how to say that. I probably sound stupid, but welcome.
It's okay. You put the emphasis on a different syllable, and it's fine.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, it's here. Oops. Hi, Kay.
Hi, Kay.
Okay, yeah. So now I'll let you go ahead and introduce the concept that we're going to be talking about.
Okay, I'm gonna
And
share this screen then, if you don't mind.
yeah. Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Allie Cattails.
Oh, your audio.
Years.
Hold on, your audio. Start
Uh-oh.
over.
I'm Allie
Okay.
Cattails, and I've known Danny for a few years from, I think, the Summer Wells case is when I first started seeing you around.
Maybe,
I
yeah.
wasn't there for the Watts case I came in on in 2018, and I've kind of been watching ever since.
Your audio is glitching in and out.
Shoot.
Is her audio glitching for you guys too, or is it just me?
I'll switch to regular
It's like,
audio.
it sounds like staticky. Okay. I'm like, we'll let her sort that out real quick. We've been in the backstage doing a whole like prep and stuff too. I don't know why I hate StreamYard for this reason. Okay, for you guys too. Okay. Oh, that's nice of you, Graham, not to call a truce with Gemini. Hi, Andrew. Yep, double trouble. We got a Scorpio sun and then me a Scorpio rising, so you know that that's double trouble. Hi, One Juror Matters. I really enjoyed your videos about the boys. I watched them the night before the verdict was read, and I really liked how you put those together. That was really good editing. Thank you for that, for having that out there for them.
Okay, is that
Hi,
better?
Lambro. Yeah. Hi, Purple
Okay.
Fried.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. So go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, with all of this true crime stuff that I came into this YouTube world with, and then all the live chatting and all that, it got me thinking about this concept I learned about not too long ago called the drama triangle. Because I think it's going to be a helpful. It definitely has helped me in my life with my interpersonal relationships, and then on top of that, like just being able to use, well, I was a media studies major, so I was in a journalism program, and we looked at media effect on culture and vice versa, and how it changes and over time and history, and whether it is good or bad, ethics, all these things, looking into the future, how do we want to shape it? And it was almost, as soon as you start studying about it, it changes, because we're moving so fast right now with technology. And I love technology. I'm an early adopter of a lot of things. And I tend to be what I would call a hopeless idealist. So I always try to see things, or I don't even have to try. Naturally, I see things as what could they be in their best iteration, in their best model. What is this meant for? What cool things could we build? How could we connect? How could we make things better, prevent crime, all things like that. And so when I live in Denver, from Denver, I got sucked into the Chris Watts case. And that was right around the time when there was a lot of live chat going on. And instead of this one-way communication from media to the consumers or mainstream media, there was now these like little media companies, aka just content creators, trying to report the story from their little platforms. And it was a two-way conversation. It was more interactive. And with that interactivity also comes more room for misunderstanding and drama. There's a lot, I'm sure you guys know from your own lives, it's like that. And then you add in, the anonymity from behind a keyboard and being able to kind of poke the bear or just, voice your opinion more than we ever got to do before. It's going to add this other dynamic that we just have not even had before. So it just multiplies the drama because it's more people giving their opinions on other people. Hi, Nance. But I guess, so that's just a little bit about my background. I also studied business and peace and conflict studies. And so this has all been super interesting to me as a case study and as a way to learn about cases myself. I never loved true crime before, but Chris Watts, what kind of happened in my backyard, and it just blew my mind how a dad that was America's like home dad, or just seemed like such a good, normal, typical dad, smart, and I mean, and everybody had nothing but kind things to say about him. So it rocked my world because the guy I was dating at the time kind of reminded me of him. And I was like, oh, boy. So now I have to worry about this kind of guy, too. Cool.
You have to worry about everyone.
I know. So it spooked me. And then watching the space since then, this dynamic that we're going to talk about tonight, I think will help for you guys because it's helped me a ton on how to see things as less personal and how to spot things in this framework and how you can move outside the framework into a more empowered framework. Because it turns out, even though it says on this triangle, there's a hero, villain, and victim, all of these are victim mindsets. All of these you stay trapped in this triangle, and it's going downwards for a reason, because none of this is positive.
This is all when you're living in a fear vibration.
It is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so say we're talking about any instance. Well, let's talk about just a fairy tale like that we've all sort of heard, or the premise of a very easy story trope that we all kind of know is like, so there, and we grew up on these stories, really. So no wonder we're kind of stuck in this mindset or this framework. But don't worry, we'll talk about also how to move out of it, shift out of it yourself, and start becoming a creator rather than
solutions.
Yes.
Yes.
But first we got to understand like what this kind of trap can be, because it's extremely easy to get into, and most of us don't even realize we're in it. I didn't before I learned this framework to help me see it. So this
Can I add something really quick too? So when Ali and I were talking before this started, I had also realized that this is not only a mindset that we have when we're involved in it, but also when we're just spectators on the sidelines viewing something. We often view things within these terms.
Exactly.
Even when we're not personally involved and have nothing to do with it. So just keep that in mind when you're learning about this, that it might not even be your own drama. It might be something that you're viewing in another person's life.
Or some situation that you're seeing play out, say, on YouTube. But so just a classic story would be, so you are you start learning about this poor princess who is locked away, and it's her evil stepmom. And so the princess is clearly, to everybody, becomes a victim. She is, oh, poor me. All this is happening to me. I have the stepmom. I can't escape this. How do I handle life? Oh, woe is me. You know, little mice and birdies help me sew my dress and wait for Prince Charming to come. And then we've got the evil stepmom is going to be that villain you see that is like out, and this villain is like outside of this person's control, but doing these things as a means of control for this person. And then they also have, of course, they have Prince Charming fly in towards the end there, and he's going to be the hero of the story. That, oh, I know you can't help yourself. I'm going to come swoop in and save you, and we'll live happily ever after. Except that in real life, I think we've probably all figured out by now, life is not Disney, and there's a lot more drama that happens in this pretty little triangle that they portray on the screen. It's not so clean and easy. So that's where a lot of this friction happens, and these dynamics happen that keep us stuck in one of these three mindsets. And actually, it's a triangle, and these lines basically are little paths, and the titles there are like the bases, like say you were running bases around a baseball diamond. But so these are like the home bases you feel most comfortable in. So some of us feel very comfortable in this hero mindset, like, oh, I guess I'll have to take him again to work, or I will have to help him with his channel. I guess I'll just sprinkle my magic dust whenever he needs me bad enough, and then I'll come back. And
Gemini, always trying to save the day.
Gemini. But that is so two of them. And then so say you're the victim, you're kind of always like, oh, but my work, but my kid, but my weight, my eye color, I mean, we blame so many things, but the problems typically, if we can reframe or see these as what they really are, these are all victim sort of mindsets, and the villain could be somebody that is just really wanting, the persecutor, really wanting to be holier than thou, and coming from a place of, well, you shouldn't say that. You know why? Because, it's God says this or that, or the rules say this, and I won't even look at that. They're very closed-minded. They're just kind of stuck in their ways, and they're happy being the, kind of the know-it-all, be-all, end-all for anything. So do those three kind of make sense? I don't know if you guys are able to think of examples in your own life where basically all of these depend on another person to change or the situation to change before we can be happy. So it's very victim mindset, like, yeah, poor me, or, if only they would do this, or, blaming it on, oh, YouTube's so effed up. Well, are they, or are they just doing rules because they got to do rules because they're a platform that's like the second biggest website on the internet, and there's got to be some standards. They're doing what they can. Or you could look, so basically the victim here, I forget, here we go. So we start with a victim. A victim, you'll know you're kind of in this mindset in a situation if you're going to say, oh, it's hard, I have to, there's nothing I can do. It's very outside of yourself, and I can't really handle this. Looking for a savior type, looking for something that'll change that's outside of you. You're at the effects of other people, other things, before you can be happy, before you can get out of your trap. Then there's the villain. The villain, this can be a villain that blames self or blames others. So that's the interesting part when you look at this. This person is the one that is trying to say it should be different. Who's to blame? They have to know, like, this, and it's their fault. I have a friend that's like this that I had to have a really serious discussion with this last summer about, because I started to recognize a pattern that it always had to be someone's fault. And I'm more of the person that just likes to see both sides and just be able to, okay,
like, this is the way the situation happened, and this is the way that it resulted, and now what are we going to do?
Right. And how do we handle what is now present? And he was so stuck in the past of, but it was your fault because you did. Okay, does it really matter whose fault it is? The villain is either blaming themselves, or I should have known better, I'm the worst, like I should have seen through the mask of this narcissist, or whatever it is. And that's
responsibility and self-accountability is important, but it's not okay to stay stuck there.
Exactly. And like crucify yourself or someone else by telling them they're wrong. It's like a self-righteous thing. It's also called persecutor in the model. And this is a model from the 1960s. It's Cartman. This has just kind of been adapted with this other side of the triangle, which will show that's the more solution mindset. It uses that same model, it flips it on its head, and it shows how to empower yourself with knowing these, being able to see these, yourself doing them and others doing it. Who's the bad guy, who's the victim, and it's very black and white thinking. Then there's the hero, and the hero is always seeking the quickest, shortest answer, easiest relief. I can handle it, I can help. Poor you, I got this, stand back, don't worry. And it's more of like here's $50 and to handle your gas or your food for the day, but I'm not going to teach you how to fish or teach you money management skills. I'm just going to, short-term solution, here's $50, deal, you're good. And then this dependent relationship sort of dynamic happens either between them, or this person is always going to be stuck like this because no one ever enables them.
I also thought about a good example of like the victim and the villain, but there's no hero. Like, so I've known so many people who have gotten arrested, and then they're like, oh, well, the cops did this, or, this person snitched on me, or, you know what I'm saying? This happened, instead of acknowledging that, like, they broke the law and they were dumb enough to get caught doing so. Right. But there's no hero to save them. So then, that perpetuates this, this victim mentality, like almost even more so, because there's not anyone to come and save the day where they can at least have that little bit of relief, because then they get out of prison and they're like, well, society looks at me a certain way, whatever. And it's almost like a cop out to where they could just go
Yes.
back to doing the same shit and not having to change.
That's what all of these three actually end up being. And some people just go racing back and forth from villain to victim.
Yeah.
Well, if everyone's going to look at me as the bad guy, I might as well be the bad guy. Well, they did it, so I could do it, and it's just going back and forth, back and forth. Well, I only did this, not that. And it's just, it doesn't really matter technically what this and that are. The fact is just noticing that that some people race back and forth from one to the other. Some do all three. And it's pretty amazing to watch once you're able to separate yourself. And Danny and I were talking about this beforehand too. There's this space that is in between a stimulus and a response. And that either could be a reaction, which is what I see a lot of people on YouTube do, is react, so that there is no space between stimulus and response. But if you were to let that space happen and just be with whatever feeling it is, let it exist in you, feel it all the way. If it's sadness, if it's grief for mourning something that will never be and you wished it was, and you had such high hopes for a channel or for a friend, or it was projection on them, what you'd hope they'd be, you do need to grieve that before you lash out, quote unquote, in a way that isn't helpful and keeps you stuck in this triangle. There's room to breathe if you let it happen, but it starts with you. It doesn't start with anyone else. And we each are in control of our own reaction or decision to honor that space, whatever that feeling is, because it's when we don't honor that space is when it can fester, when it can come up as resentment later, when it never actually gets worked through, it just gets reacted through. And that's, I've seen myself do it. I've watched friends do it, and it's hard to notice when you're in the middle of it. But all you can do is, at least what we've talked about and Daniel's talked about in several of her live streams, is noticing. It's just holding that space and just like letting it be whatever it is.
Self-awareness is very important.
Yeah, and that's hard to do because many of us aren't taught that. Many of us aren't modeled these things at home in a healthy way. I know I wasn't. I didn't see conflict or how to do it well. So no wonder many of us don't know how to do this. However,
did you say you didn't see conflict?
I didn't see any of it. I didn't know. So to me, I didn't even know when I did see it in my life, like happened with me or a friend. It was foreign on how to handle it besides what I would see on road rules in real world. And that's
crazy because for me, it was the opposite, where as a very young child, all I saw was conflict and it was not dealt with in a healthy way whatsoever.
So there's several examples that could happen in the home. I would say there are good examples of parents who can fight in a fair, argumentative, but not pejorative against anybody personally, and not taking things personally and not making it ugly.
Yeah, like a disagreement as opposed to a fight.
Right. And even if you see it as a fight, it shows you that you can fight and still get along at the end of the night. It shows you a healthy model. So many of us weren't modeled this. It was a lot of this research on, that's a good saying, feel it to heal it. There's a lot of research we've gotten since then, so give your parents or whoever raised you grace that, they may not have been taught this either. We did not know as much about the brain as we do now. But the fact of the matter is all of us are little sponges as children. It's, childhood development and attachment theory, a lot of it.
Especially before the age of 7.
Yes. And seeing these things modeled in a healthy way goes a huge, long way into being able to do this in real life as an adult. But so I will say it's not your fault if you weren't modeled this. It's not your fault if you weren't taught this, but it is, if you're an adult here tonight or anywhere in the world, it is your responsibility. If you want to have good relationships in today, you do need to begin to take responsibility for figuring it out now that you are an adult. You can definitely grieve, mourn that thing that didn't exist for you. Your parents didn't model for you, and that's not fair. But it is your responsibility to now figure it out, especially if you are in a relationship or having a family dynamic with your kids. You want to break that cycle of not having a positive role model in that way.
Yeah, you want your kids to be able to see a healthy way to deal with stuff.
Yes.
You know, and also taking responsibility and like getting that empowerment within yourself will help heal that inner child that's been grieving the loss of something that they never even knew to begin with for
Yes.
their entire life, you know,
Yep.
and that's still within all of us somewhere.
Yep. And it may sound kind of overblown and ridiculous, but so much of those formative years do impact the way you are for the rest of your life. It's been studied now. And if you're seeing yourself doing the same sort of pattern, there's a likelihood that something
It most likely comes from subconscious programming that happened before you were age 7.
It's conditioning. So, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility if you want it to change. Okay, so then we'll move on to, so after this dynamic of this drama triangle, you guys probably understand what that is by now. You see it everywhere, every day. And it's in this fear-based below the line is what they call it. This is below the line. And then above the line is this new framework to see yourself empowered, or the empowerment dynamic is what they're calling it. And it came around later, it built off this framework. And basically it takes each of these negative ways of being in the world in relationship with yourself and others, and turns it on its head, saying it's all about, once you have a baseline of trust, then you're able to finally see that, you know what, this villain that I saw as a villain, my stepmom, my evil stepmom, well, I could also just see this as a challenger, as somebody who's trying to make me better. Even if they're not, I can choose to see them that way. And if you are in that villain or persecutor dynamic, maybe you can reframe the way you come at people, or the way you present your ideas of what you see as ideal.
Thank you, my guy, for the $3 super sticker. I appreciate it. And I learned from Lincoln Kane that one of these about every 10 minutes helps the algorithm. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for the wisdom. And thanks, Gemini Guy, for supporting the stream.
Yes.
If you haven't liked it already and you are getting anything out of this, that would be really awesome if you like the stream for Miss Danielle too. That would be rad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so say you're used to being this villain or this persecutor type. I know this is the best way to go, and holier than thou, God says this. It's very religious. People are like this role a lot, and maybe you can turn it into a challenger role instead of a villain role. I present things in a different way, so it is a challenge, not as a persecutor. And then in the same way, when you're a victim, you feel like, woe is me, everything sucks, everything's happening to me. You turn that into a creator role. Well, maybe everything's happening for me. Maybe this is for me to figure out. Maybe this is for me to create. Maybe this is something, a new opportunity. Some see it as a disaster. Some see it as something extremely negative. And I see it as an opportunity to XYZ. Go ahead, Danny, if you want to read anything.
Oh, I was just putting it on. He said, every news article, magazine advertisement, commercial, shows, movies all have subliminal messages that change how we think and process. I remember learning when taking college courses. Crazy how we are being brainwashed from the time we were born.
Yeah.
That's because humans are not inherently good or bad. We are inherently programmable.
And situations are not inherently good or bad. They are how you see them. So that is another way to another thing to remember when you're saying, oh, they're the bad guys or they're the good guys, or I know we're right doing this. You're feeling righteous. I mean, that's a sign you're in the drama triangle. So take note, because things are not inherently good or bad. Things are. And it's up to you to just, you're the one who puts this flavor or spin on it yourself, not even the news. So you can blame the news, but the news is a reflection of us. It's created by humans. So mainstream media, anybody, they're all this, like, they're just expressions of us. So that to me is a victim mindset too, to like blame mainstream media. No, like, why do you think they cover the stories they cover? Why do you think it's worked so long as it has? Because we let it, because that is us. We're not separate then. We're not.
And now that's really not an excuse, because we have the internet at our fingertips at all moments of the day. So there's, all this information, and people can look at it like it's a negative thing, because there's, all this like terrible stuff that kids can be exposed to and all this shit. But it's like, you can actually take that, ability to find any information you want and use it to your advantage. It doesn't have to be negative. The internet, like humans, is not good or bad,
Neutral.
So
yeah, it's us that likes to say,
yeah, it's the user. How does the user, consumer, whatever you want to call it, like how is that person using it, and what is their purpose and intention?
It does mean you have to become the protagonist in your own story. It does mean you have to become responsible for what you do. And that can be scary to some people. And that can be not even part of their equation, a lot of people's equation. But
this is a good point too. If you can see it, you can avoid it, which a lot of people choose to look the other way at things because they don't want to acknowledge that it's real, or that, especially if it's not affecting them personally. But it's important that we do look at things like outside of ourselves and within ourselves, and choose to respond in the best way that can make the changes that should be.
And then, yes, exactly. And then the last one, and then I'll ask you guys a couple questions just to see how you're feeling about some things that you've likely seen happen in the YouTube universe lately. So with the last one is, you go from hero to coach. So instead of you giving somebody $50 or giving someone a fish, you teach them to fish. You teach them how to manage finances better, or see if we can find them a class to do that sort of thing, or something that is a long-term strategy.
So in like the Cinderella example, would the mice be like coaches, because they were kind of like helping her make the dress, and like, you know what I'm saying?
If she
As opposed to saving her. Yeah.
If she was taking note, if she was just sitting back and feeling entitled to it, that's another story. Entitlement is another sign that you are in the drama triangle. If you're getting anxious because your TSA line is super long, that you're in the drama triangle. You're trying to blame, Southwest, or you're trying to blame TSA or traffic, or you're entitled, thinking that there should not be traffic for you for some reason, when really you're in control of a lot of this stuff. And you're the one letting it take your energy in that moment. You could just put your focus elsewhere. Because another line that I often think of, and it's a mantra I say to myself when I'm getting frustrated, is where focus goes, energy flows. And so when you focus on the negative, you will remain negative. It will suck you in to this triangle. If you focus on, what can I create from this? What does this leave me an opportunity to do? What does this challenge make me better at?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the traffic example, and you could look at it like, oh, fuck, there's traffic, like all these people, they need to figure it out, move out of the way, whatever. Or you could just sit back and be like, okay, here's a chance to relax a little bit and like turn up your music and just, just go with it. And actually, it would probably be at least perceived that the traffic was moving more smoothly if you're more relaxed about the situation. When you're like, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, basically.
Right. And you can show up to work frazzled, or you can show up to work in a calm, cool, collected, hey, sorry I was late, this is the deal. And or you could come into work all frazzled and like, oh fuck, rah, rah. And then it's like, not only are you late, now you're wasting time on this energy and everyone has to deal with you. Annoying, you know? You're making yourself in that drama triangle.
Yeah, I have a coworker who like makes everybody else pay for the fact that he's just miserable. Like everything is everyone's fault, like all seconds of the day, like he just hates everything. And it's like, bro, stay home then. Like, do you
Right.
need a paycheck? Because if so, you got to deal with shit. Like, shut the fuck up and
Some
quit making me
people,
have to fucking pay for your miserable life.
right. And some
Like,
people, that's their
I'm just like-
personality type almost. And you're like, how? This is
and
so
you're just like, if it's every
extreme.
situation, you're probably the common denominator, just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so, but it's up to you. You know, you can choose to see this or you can choose not to. It's up to you. And so
But it's easier to be part of the herd.
it sure is. And you can do that. You know, it's fine if you choose to do that. Just know that it is a choice. It's not, no one's making you do that. And so for this dynamic, say with Jim, and X and that whole dynamic, what was your first reaction, everybody? Like high level, what was your first reaction?
When their channels disappeared?
Yeah.
My Tuesdays are going to be a lot less interesting while I'm working because I usually have them in my earbuds.
I think I saw you write that in a chat even. And
I was like, no, what am I going to listen to on Tuesday nights? It takes up like almost my entire shift, you know?
And is that a victim mindset or an empowered mindset?
Well, I mean, it sounds like a victim mindset, but then I was like, it's a good thing I didn't cancel my Pandora premium with no commercials, and I guess I'll just have to go back to listening to music. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's how you're going to choose to make your own decision that's not dependent on them, right? You're going to choose to do this other thing while they figure it out because it's out of all of our control, correct?
Yeah, and then whenever they figure it out and, you know, if they come back like whatever platform, then I'll just
Rumble or
listen to them
whatever it
again.
is.
Yeah, on whatever schedule they figure, you know, like however it works out, but
And if you are feeling sorry for them, that you're being a victim for them, which I'm pretty sure they didn't ask anybody to do either. So that's another role. Or if you're feeling, well, see, told you so because they did this and this and this and this wrong. Well, that is, again, that's like a villain. That's the persecutor saying, well, no wonder they did this and this and this. You're self-righteous. That's another sign you're in that triangle. If you can notice when you start to do that, and pick the opposing, like the juxtaposed position that's more empowered and see what that position, how would you just try it on? You know, that's kind of like with a lot of these models and things. I love frameworks. I love models because to me that they help me remember easier some of these more difficult psychological or sociology concepts. So for me, something like the visual of this will really help me remember, oh, okay, I can actually shift my own thought here into like a creator that's engaged, aligned, creative and energized. We can have a breakthrough here. This actually might push us to some better solution because there's negative stuff happening or I'm perceiving as negative. How can I use that to push me to be better? And take
to set an example for other people to be better as well.
Exactly. So maybe you're going to miss something on Tuesday. Well, how could you create instead of fall victim to that? Maybe you could create something that you've always wanted to do for yourself and that you've been depending on others to do for you. Make it less outside of yourself, more inside of yourself, what your reaction is. Knowing that you don't have to depend on really anybody else or anything else to make you feel fulfilled or happy. So that looks like presence. So this is that space in between when something happens, a stimulus and response. there could be a reaction, or you could just have presence, being in ease and flow. You wonder, I wonder what I can learn from this. How am I creating this? What is my part in this? What is my 100% responsibility in this? The truth will come out about Jim and X's channels, or it won't. They'll fix it or they won't. It's out of our hands. That's the point, is we're not dependent on that. I'm just using it as an example. It could be anything. It could be your parents' divorce. It could be your custody battle. It could be your rent of being raised. It could be a million things, your boss, your coworkers, it could be a million things. But the point is to have this presence and taking 100% responsibility for your part in whatever that situation is, because it doesn't happen without you in it if it is happening to you. And then reframing it. What can I learn from this? The creator aspect claims personal power. And it is very empowering. If you've ever started your own business, if you've ever started your own club, created something from nothing, built a table, when something is missing or destroyed, you create. It's a very empowering feeling. Artists feel like this a lot. When they get hurt or have emotions, they decide, with that, I'm going to create something brand new. It's such a beautiful thing to do with that hurt or pain, that grief. Honor that grief, of course. Don't just let it go by, as Danny and I were talking about before, because if you try to skip over that, it's always going to be there. And
the only way is through.
Yes, unless you work through that situation. So this claims your personal power. You're extremely powerful in that space. Then a challenger provokes others to take action in a way that is uplifting, that is creating something better due to the sum of their pushing somebody else or themselves to be better. And as long as it comes from not a righteous, holier than thou place, it comes from a real place of what is the best situation that could come of this. And then we've got the last one here is the coach. So instead of just coming in and being, say, the consultant on a project, and you're saying, okay, well, let me do all your social media for you. Let me do this, that. Turns out that usually after you're done doing that consulting or work on this contract or project, then they just leave everything and say, shoot, we don't know how to do this. Can you come help us again? Oh, well, that isn't ideal. What is ideal is you coach them on how to do this for themselves so that they're empowered to take this on as soon as you're unable to be there as the hero. You're no longer the hero. You're a coach. You're a guide for them, which to me is invaluable, to have a guide or two in your life that you can look to work through whatever major life areas of struggle that you have, whether it's like an executive coach. A couple summers ago, I hired an executive coach because I felt like I was getting to a plateau in my career and work trajectory. And I needed somebody to help me break through with new tools that I didn't know how to use or didn't know existed before. Once I was able to learn those tools, then I could break through to the next level for me. So whether it's hiring a coach, that's okay too. Even, professional athletes have coaches still. They're grown humans. You as a professional in whatever you do, it's totally fine to have a coach. There's no shame in that. It's actually responsible of you.
I also just realized something also, when you switch over to this kind of mindset, it's almost like the three separate almost become one unified being or entity within itself also, even if it's different people, because the challenger and the coach almost are the same thing, and it helps to co-create with the creator.
Yes,
exactly. To make something better. So now everybody's working towards success as opposed to everybody being against each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so even conflict is healthy in that regard, because that conflict will actually make whatever solution better. Because if you are allowing each in, allowing the dissent as well as the pros of whatever it is, that means you actually can create a stronger third way almost that could never have been created with just 1+1 here, 1 here. And that's what I always think of when there's this beautiful collaboration or co-creation, as you mentioned. I love that term. Once we're able to drop some ego and like take input from everyone, it actually, that's when 1+1 = 3 in my book. Because together you actually create something that neither one of you could have done on your own. So it is actually compounded in its efficacy because you've already kind of covered the dissenting, the argumentative, the, you know, counter argument, because you've taken it on with this process, and it's been created all along the way. You took that into account. And so I just wanted to bring up many of the slides, and then the concepts that where I first learned this is in this book and with this group called Conscious Is. And they wrote 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. It's a new paradigm for sustainable success. And it's a brilliant book, and or audiobook, podcast, their website, everything that they do. If you ever see them on a podcast, these names down here, great info. And they've got so many tools to kind of work through drama in the workplace, drama at home. And I see a leader as anyone who decides to take responsibility for something in their life. That to me is a leader. You can be a leader of your household. You can be a leader of just your truth, your who you want to show up as in the world. You're a leader. If you decide to be proactive and become kind of the lead role in your life, and quit letting things happen to you, at you, and start turning them into this framework where they happen for you. How do I work with this? Yeah, so that's most of what I had to say about all this, and try to think about the examples. I just thought it comes in really handy with what's going on recently on YouTube, and every day on YouTube, really, and probably every day in each of our lives, that we don't even recognize we're falling into these traps of disempowerment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm trying to think, do I have any other comments about this? I didn't expect you to be done already. So I was actually listening to take in the information and not listening for my response.
Yeah, well, that's a good sign. I just feel like we could ask people if people have questions, if people have examples.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything in the chat that they would want to say about the stuff that we just discussed? And it is important to be proactive in our own lives, like with the way that things affect us. And sometimes it's good also to step back and like not let things going on with other people affect you. Because I've noticed that as well. Like there's a lot of people who carry a lot of stress over stuff that doesn't concern them. You know, whether it be like a mom who's worried about her adult child and the choices that they're making, or you know what I'm saying? Like just stuff that it would be so much better to just be there and be supportive and help when help is needed, but not in a way that you're trying to save the day and change the outcome, because people have to learn their own lessons themselves and we have to allow them the space to do so.
Exactly.
Even if it kills us, you know?
But the thing is, it won't kill you. Turns out you'll be okay, especially if you realize that you have an internal locus of control and nothing outside of you can affect you unless you let it. If you need a reminder of that, think about like Viktor Frankl and read Man's Search for Meaning, or reread it if it's been a while. It's one of my favorite books, and short enough, and it's such a great reminder. He was a psychologist that went through the Holocaust, and he basically comes to the realization that it's all in your head, that it's all up to you. It's what you focus on is going to be what you're going to take on. You can survive anything. We're all a lot. We can do hard things. We're really resilient, amazing animals, but you do have to try. You have to train yourself. This isn't something that's just going to rescue you. It's no hero, you know, it's only you be your own hero, aka your own coach, your own challenger. And that's how you become empowered. When you realize that you don't need to depend on somebody else doing something for you to be happy. And it's hard when you don't grow up with the healthiest models, again, in your home, and which many of us I know didn't. And again, I am sorry for that, and you should grieve that, because you don't deserve that. No one deserves that. But you also cannot or you could sit in that victimhood for the rest of your life. Or
some people do.
Or you could choose not to, which I recommend. It's your responsibility, especially if you're raising the next generation of beings in this world. Do you want that to continue? Is that fair for them? Are they going to look back and say that about you?
Yeah, I said when I had my son, like my only real goal for him is that he's an emotionally stable and like well-rounded child that can grow up into, you know, an adult who can like not be affected by the world and find that like peace within himself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think so far I'm doing a pretty good job. Hopefully, like
I mean, the intention and the check-in with that is most of it, is what people don't even really understand, is that the fact that you're checking in with that for yourself is going to keep you aligned to that, because where focus goes, energy flows. So if you are aligned with that as your intention and you focus on that, it's very easy for your life to get aligned to that. It's if you're focused on the negative parts of it, or the challenging things that have happened to you and with raising him, you could easily just say, oh, it's everyone else's fault that he's not.
Well, and I can even use like my relationship with his dad as an example, because we've been through our ups and downs, and it came to a point where I had to make the decision that I was not going to respond to him in the way that he was trying to get me to. Well, he was trying to get a reaction, and I started giving responses instead, you know, where you stop and think. Yeah. And then just sometimes it's not even worth addressing when somebody's being an asshole. Sometimes it's better to just remain like whole within your own silence and just be, and allow the other person to just look like an asshole because that's what ends up happening. And especially when we're talking about like parents and a child, the child will see the truth. But if you're both engaged, you know, like eventually the other parent will give up because they're not getting that reaction out of you. But if you keep engaging and you're both engaged, then the child has to feel feelings of like guilt because, you know, or responsibility for, you know, then they start taking on this dynamic within themselves as they want to be the hero. They feel like the villain because they're the reason you two are even talking anymore. And then that also makes them a victim themselves. So it's really, really important when we're talking about kids. And I feel like now it's at a point where I could talk to my son's dad, and if he's being stupid, then it's just like, oh, whatever, I just ignore it, you know? Or I wait before I talk to him until I know that I'm calm enough to be able to do it in a productive way. That's not going to end up in a fight. We haven't had a fight in like years and years, you know, because just because I choose not to react to him when he's being an asshole, you know? And and then also when I talk to my son about things that he might see going on or that have gone on, I always make sure to make it a point to tell him, like, I will always have love for your dad because he gave me you. You know, like even when I can't stand him or whatever, like I still have love for him. That way he doesn't have to feel guilt or shame or anything as a result of the fact that we're having a disagreement.
Yep. Love it. And I think it's super important to recognize when you yourself are being above the line or below the line. If someone brings you something and they want your reaction, they want you to feel sorry for them, step back and think about it and realize like, I could do that, or I could challenge them, or I could become a coach here, or I could encourage them in a way that's empowering to them, instead of getting sucked into their stories. Because what is different, you have to separate fact from story. Fact is what could be recorded on a video camera, in a deposition. Like, this is like serious.
Yeah, what could be presented in court.
Exactly. That
Not
is
opinion.
fact. The stories that we tell ourselves about something, that's where a lot of this drama comes from. So the fact is that Jim's channel got terminated last night midstream. Several of us saw that. That is the fact. The stories we've all heard are simply stories about it. They're the drama surrounding it. So if we can remove ourselves from the drama triangle and these stories, we can actually just move into empowering things that, like, we don't really care why, like all these stories that are just people guessing at this point. No one knows. Anyone can say, oh, they took the stream down. No one knows. That everyone says that about every creator that gets taken down. People take the credit or the responsibility for that. But like, is that cool? You're the hero, you're the villain, you're in the drama triangle. It's,
yeah, depending on your perspective, how is that person even viewed? They think that they're the hero, but they could actually be the villain to somebody else who's looking in. Like, it's just or they think that they're a victim and that's why they had to do what they did,
Right. It's like a race to the bottom at a point. Feeling sorry for someone is also this victimness that they probably don't ask for that. They probably don't need that. And it just is taking your energy into this story, when really we can just choose to, it is what it is. What will be. There's no good or bad. It is. And then choose what we decide to do with this new information. That's all. It's just new information.
And it's also a situation where I'm sure that, if and when their channels were to come back, I'm sure that they learned something to where, this could be looked at as a challenge. And so they can look at it, learn from it, and grow.
If they're choosing to do that, that would be great.
Some people, on the other hand, make the same mistakes over and over and over.
In the drama triangle, it's very common. That's why you get stuck in there, going from this role to that role. And one quote that they say in this book, or one of the authors of this book, and this sort of framework for commitments that a conscious leader would make, it's, rather than try to fix or change others, face your desire for control. That's really what it's about. When you feel yourself wishing somebody did something, really look at your desire for controlling someone else, is what is probably the best use of your time in that instance, because that says something.
Also the approach to how you deal with someone is important. So like, you can come at someone and be like, well, if you didn't do this, then that wouldn't have happened, blah, blah, blah. And that's more, they're going to take that automatically as an attack. And then they're going to respond to you in a way that's probably not beneficial. And it's going to go right over their head. You're not going to get through to them. And some people will even, like, just specifically to be defiant. Yeah, they will like do the same thing or even worse sometimes, just because they want to prove a point that you don't tell them what to do. But if you come at someone and be like, hey, have you ever thought that maybe this just isn't worth it, or this, like, we could do something different, or what do you think might happen if you were to do A, B, and C? And like, I like to approach people a lot of times where I ask them questions that leave them in control of the answer. Because it's more likely that it will sink in. And now they get to take on that role of responsibility, when even just conceptualizing the ideas with you, they're taking on the responsibility and coming up with the solutions and, the results and everything for themselves, as opposed to you just telling them how it should be and them feeling like they're being scolded by their father or something, you know?
Mhm.
Are you adding something else?
Yeah. If you can switch it out. Let's see, remove that one. Okay, so in that same vein, this group has all these tools and exercises actually on their website for free, and it's conscious.is. If you guys are interested,
If you want, type something in the chat and I'll make you a mod, and then you could put the link in there.
But basically, they have all sorts of handouts like this for free for download. If any of this sounds interesting to you, they do basically.
Oh, can you type in the chat? Do you have another device?
I just did.
Where is it?
Unless I'm hidden in here.
You shouldn't be.
Oh, I don't see it though. Who hid me? That's rude. I'm a victim.
Oh, there you are. Okay, so now you could put links.
So they have frameworks like this where this is exactly what Danielle was talking about. So you identify an issue, problem, potential, anything that's going on in your life, speak about it in unenlightened terms. So in this, you could do an exercise where you're like very dramatic about it. Oh, I did this happened. Oh, what was me? You know, I'm this role. They really want you to dramatize it. So if you did this with a work group or your family, say, that is feeling like you're always in this sort of dynamic, you could use this as a framework for yourself, for your family, for your group. And then step into 100% responsibility. Physically find a place in the room that represents your commitment to being 100% responsible for the situation, whether it's you feeling like the victim, like on the ground, like with the chalk outlining your body, you're like, oh, you know, they got me. Or, you know, you can dramatize it because they want, what the idea with exercises is you get your whole body into it, and it actually changes the frame of mind when your body is in it with your emotions and with your stories. So you gain insight by using these statements, repeating each of them several times until you have what it feels like a breakthrough. From the past, this reminds me of blank. I keep this issue going by blank. What I get from keeping this issue going is blank. These are ways you're able to like basically see how you're contributing to this pattern, that if you don't like it. Filthiest, do you need a lot to say? You want to come up here? I bet you could. If you're losing your mind, no one needs you to do that. Hopefully we're not making you do that.
Yeah, if you want to say something, Phil, send me an email and then I'll send you the link.
Anyway, so it's a great, oh, I forgot to type in chat the website now that I can. But I'll just put that in there. If you go to their resources, all these handouts are free and they've got a ton of them. And basically their whole mission is to help people, organizations become better, more empowered and enlightened, you know, beings.
I enjoy the feedback, and I'm sure that Allie does as well. So keep chatting away.
Glad to know you're engaged.
Yeah.
But yeah, so any questions, guys, or was this useful? Had you guys heard of this before? I'm just curious.
Thank you so much, Pencil, for the $3.30 New Zealand money super sticker. I don't know how much that is in US money, but I appreciate all of them.
All the monies.
I think you guys are so generous to me, and
especially it's good for the algorithm too. So thank you for that.
Yeah, like Lincoln Kane said. So, and I'm very thankful to have all of you guys even here just watching and listening to what we have to say. So thank you very much. And so and another thing that just to keep in mind is to stay in curiosity, stay in that curious childlike mode the longest you can before you
make a decision that you're right about anything, really. That's a big part of what they teach too. Figuring it out presupposes there's an answer and uses the mind to find it. Wondering cares about the question and doesn't know if there's an answer. So it's a more curious mindset. It's more inviting for people to join in.
Also, while we're talking about answers, Troy was asking earlier about if we could talk a little bit about gray rock, which sometimes is the solution. So gray rock is a concept that especially when dealing with people who have narcissistic personality disorder and things like that, where no matter how you approach them or what you say or what solution you come up with, it's always like they just don't respond well to it. They want to stay stuck in the victim mentality. Thank you, Gemini Guy, for the $2 super sticker. I appreciate you. And it's so sometimes when someone's like that, you kind of just want to, if you can't completely avoid them altogether, then gray rock is a concept where you keep the conversation very general, very light. Don't get into very
Higher
deep
level.
issues with them. Don't let disclose too much information about how you feel on a situation, what your opinion is, what's going on. You keep the details to a minimum and you kind of just talk about the weather or just whatever general thing you can talk about that's not really arguable. You know what I'm saying? So that it keeps
Mm-hmm.
like the conflict to a minimum. So this can be tried with like coworkers, sometimes even your spouse. Like if you're stuck in a situation you can't really leave because of A, B, and C reason, you have nowhere to go, or that they would take you to court and get custody of the kids and that they would turn everyone against you. Like whatever the case may be, people have their reasons for staying involved with people who cause them pain, but sometimes they really don't have another option. So you just kind of want to keep the contact to a minimum and keep it very vague in general. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be the gray rock concept.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's the answer. Like, yeah, no contact is best when you're involved with a completely toxic person. But like I said, it might be a work situation or maybe roommates and you signed a lease.
Or a
You
parent.
can't leave yet. Yeah, a parent. Definitely. It could be a parent or a sibling, where you don't want to completely cut off contact from the family. So when you go to an event and you have that brother who's just always up your ass about something, like you just keep yes, no responses, like just don't engage too much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, happy caffeinated couple, for the $5 super chat. Excellent, practical, and useful information. Thank you, Danielle and Alley Cattails. No
Yay.
problem.
I hope
I'm
it's
glad
helpful.
that you guys are enjoying it.
It's definitely helped me. It's a newer framework for me too. And as soon as I found it, it really explained a lot for me of my own behavior and others.
I like this one. Display no emotion, give no reaction, and be boring as fuck to talk to, basically. Then get the fuck or go. Wait, what is GTFO?
Get the fuck out of
Get
here.
the fuck out of here. Yeah. Get the fuck out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And this is another handout they have on the website about how you react from threat. This helps you see it. You can work through an example in your life. Who do you blame for stuff? How do you find a temporary solution? That can be alcohol, that can be drugs, that can be numbing yourself out by just watching YouTube all night and not thinking about the real problem.
And this goes back to the fight or flight episode that I did like a few weeks ago, or was it last week? I don't know. Whenever I did it, what is your fight, flight, freeze, or fawn? How do you deal with a situation?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then what the ideal is figuring out what you can do or what the solution is that's win-win-win situation. That's like kind of like next level when you're in that empowerment triangle or dynamic. You're able to move from letting things happen to you to creating a win-win-win situation for all parties involved, for you and your heart, for the world, and for this other party. That's the best possible thing. There's always going to be quote unquote negative in the world. It is up to each of us to find how we're going to empower ourselves through it all. It's hard if we weren't taught that, though. I totally get it. I was not. So this is every day I practice this or try, and I fail, but I try.
Oh dear, Gina. Well, that's awesome. Gina right now is in the hero role, but she can also, you just got to make sure that you're not the one, like the only reason he's getting clean. I hope that you're teaching him ways to cope with his pain or whatever it is that's causing him to get high. And then, oh, that's why you've been offline. Yeah. Just don't allow yourself to be, you know, the person that he's codependent on, and don't be codependent on him neither. Like
needing you.
Yeah. Where if he messes up, then now that affects you emotionally too. And then you become the victim of him, like fucking it all up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's better to just be there as a support system and like try to help him work through whatever trauma or, you know, sadness or whatever anger within himself that's causing him to do that. Because yeah, that's a tough one. But I know from personal experience, when I was not able to be that hero for someone and, you know, he's gone, like I had to suffer that loss, like in a physical sense. And, you know, it's really hard. So I really hope that, that you can help him, and that, you know, that it doesn't turn into the getting sober situation doesn't turn into some kind of toxic situation all on his own, you know?
Right. Yep. So teaching him to fish, showing him or seeing if he could get sustainable help other ways that isn't dependent on you.
Yeah, nobody can be a hero in that position. That person has to take control of their own life. They can. It's good when they want that though, and then they have a support system. Like a support system is always positive for someone, but they have to make that decision within themselves, you know?
And to get a professional that understands exactly what that is that's going on, not just a friend, not just someone who cares about him, but somebody who's trained in this, who knows how to handle this as it is a disease that affects several parts of you.
Maybe you need to paint him, Gina, and then that would help. No?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So anyway, each of us has something we can do. But when we work on our own self, that's when we can see the bigger picture. Because if we're not fixing whatever it is we need to go through, that's when we project onto others and we become this persecutor, this hero, or this victim, instead of the more empowered mindset that is creator, coach, challenger. And then we become that for ourselves first, and then we're able to give to others. It's like that in love too. Friends, love, your family.
Yeah, you have to be whole yourself before you can give to other people. If you're broken, how are you supposed to give to somebody else?
It's never going to feel fulfilling until you fulfill that in yourself. You remother, reparent yourself. You love yourself. You understand yourself. You do the things that you wish somebody would do for you. You have to do that for you first. And it's hard and it seems cheesy. It seems embarrassing, but there are real tools to do this stuff. And there are YouTube videos all about this sort of thing. I would encourage you to just, no one's watching, do it, because that's the real work. That's when you can show up more fully for everyone. That's when you work yourself out of the drama triangle and become this more centered being.
Trust me, a lot of us would rather give to others than fix ourselves, because
it
helps take our minds off and escape ourselves. we're running away from ourselves when we do that, you know? Like
Nice.
it's a distraction from what's actually going on within us. And what ends up happening is that when you're not 100% within you, then it's hard to actually give to others in the way that they need you to give to them.
You're going to fall short of not only their expectations, but your own. And it's going to be even, it's going to hurt even more than it would if you just failed because you failed. This is failure because, I mean, it was destined to be a failure. You didn't even, you've got to start with a really strong core and a strong foundation to stand on.
Yeah, it's that example where, like, if you're in a plane and it's about to crash, or just, you know, there's some kind of emergency, you have to put your own oxygen mask on before you can put it on your child, your
Anyway,
spouse, anyone else, because if not, then you're all going to be left without oxygen masks because you're going to be putting it on them and probably pass out before it's on and secured properly. And then what's going to happen? You
yep.
know, it's better to even let the other person fall a little bit and then be able to pick them back up because you have the full strength to do so, than for both of you to just fall.
And it's not even your responsibility. What is your responsibility is you. And if you're not even doing that, you can't give to others. It's wrong to focus on that, which we all do it. I know it. I mean, we're all guilty of it. And this true crime community that a lot of us came from, you get a lot of this third person or perspective, empathy, and it's draining, and it can be distracting from your own issues that really you could affect if you tried. So that's what this is trying to help teach us. So we'll put, I think Danielle's okay with us putting a couple links for these handouts and things and the website.
Oh yeah, put whatever links that you want.
So
and then I'll copy them later after the stream is over. Whenever the chat comes back up, I'll copy them and put them in the description also.
Okay. Well, that's the main one for me. And then just a couple maybe I sent you a video or two in your email.
Okay. I could put those links also.
In case people want to see a YouTube like podcast basically on a couple of these that I thought were really powerful.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. So I'll put whatever links that Ali has shared with me, and then I'll put them in the description. So you guys, if you're ever having a situation where it reminds you that maybe you should do some of these things, or you just want more information because it might be relevant at that time, you can come back to this video and just get the link from the description.
Yep. Well, I super appreciate the opportunity to talk about this because it helps remind me every time I get to speak about it. So thank you, Danielle, and thank you guys for being present and sticking around and listening to us.
I think it's awesome that you come from a place of what did you say your background is? Like journalism or
media studies in a journalism school.
And my background is psychology based and criminal justice, and yet it's still like things that are helpful in all aspects of life, which is what I love about like psychological topics and stuff, because it can apply to all of us, no matter. I mean, even if you were a business owner, this would be good because you have employees that you could teach this stuff to, or just, whatever. That's dealing with the public. If you work at McDonald's, this can be helpful. Like when you have an asshole customer or, just whatever.
Or if you're just in a YouTube chat and you get, you're feeling yourself getting overwhelmed by or triggered by certain things, it's okay to feel triggered. It's just sit in that and understand, why do I feel this way? And where is this coming from? If you let it have that space before you react and actually respond, and maybe even respond just to yourself. As I a lot of times will rant in a note in Google Keep just to get it out, because it needs to get out of you. Clearly, if you push it down, it's gonna come out in a really, really, really unfortunate way, seep out of different ways. You don't even understand the bitterness that will affect your relationships eventually. And
then you'll end up taking it out on people who don't deserve it, because you didn't address the situation
as it
like accurately when it came up and be like, okay, I'm having a problem right now because this reminds me of when I was a child and my mom used to call me this ugly word. And now this person is saying that and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And,
right?
and it's like either you lash out at the person and it just creates a bigger problem than it had to. Because if you think about it, that person who might have attacked you first is really stuck in their own misery as well.
Yep.
Like they actually have a very sad inner child within themselves that is, attacking other people to try to keep their focus off of that. So when you can realize that also, that's helpful to like separate yourself from the situation
Exactly.
and be like, I'm sorry for them that they have to live in their own misery, but I don't have to live in that misery with them. And I can heal that part within myself that just felt hurt by that, because in reality, I don't want to be friends with this asshole anyways. Like they're
Right.
mean, they're a bully. Like why would I want anything to do with them?
They may not have even
So
meant it in that way that you're taking it. It's just that it
that too.
ticked something in your brain from your past. And you should really, we all should just sit with that and like understand why did I feel that way? Why am I reacting? So if you don't understand it, that's part of the work too, is to like really get to the core of that. Otherwise it will keep coming up. And
this is a huge problem too. Some families won't allow any negative so-called emotions
yes.
to be expressed. And then so you grow up learning that you're not supposed to challenge people when they say something fucked up about you, or when you feel anger or sadness, you're supposed to just pretend that everything's okay.
Yep.
But then what happens behind closed doors? You have sudden bursts of anger, or maybe you don't even have outbursts. Maybe you completely
I
internalize
punish
it
myself for
and you
feeling
become depressed and you eat too much, or you won't get out of bed. You have no job because you just don't have the motivation to get up and do anything.
Or I think,
Or,
yeah,
maybe it's an anxiety and you have like a very nervous, like predisposition to any situation that you walk into, and then you have a hard time making friends, or just whatever the case may be. It can affect people in all different kinds of ways, but it's important to learn that, like, now that you're older, you don't have to live by those same unhealthy guidelines that your family might have set up for you and taught you that this is the way you do things. You
or they
can
didn't teach you at all.
Yeah, you could choose to do things whatever way you want, and that's the power that you have within you.
Right. I love that saying. It's not your fault. Whatever happened to you growing up, whatever you were conditioned with, it's not your fault, because it's good to remember that was not your fault. And you did not deserve that. None of us deserved that. But it is your responsibility. If you want to change the relationships you're having today, it is your responsibility. So I really hope that this reminds us all of that like, no matter what, we get to control everything now. Or
Legion
not.
of Truth, you should go to the store and buy a new pencil. You'll be so much happier. They were in Inky's chat last night talking about they broke their favorite pencil while writing in their diary, and now they're upset. But that pencil used to make them write crazy things anyways. So get a new pencil, maybe a different kind. That doesn't make you write such crazy things. No. I don't know. That was funny though. But yeah. Well, it's gone, so get a new one. That's victim mentality, but it was my favorite.
That's true.
Take that and become a creator and be like, okay, well, I'm going to get a new favorite pencil. There's so many pencils and pens out there. You can have a whole new one. You might even like it better. You never know unless you try. So that's my advice on that one.
Good advice. Just get over it. Just kidding. Work through those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And
mourn the pencil, grieve the pencil.
Use it to empower you to do better.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you have to accept that it's gone and move on. No. What happened?
Or get a gel pen.
Yeah. Gel pens are amazing, except sometimes like you get the ink on your hand if you put your hand on the paper. Yeah.
That's victim. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No. Well, I again, thank you guys. Any other questions or whatever? I think we have covered a lot. There's a lot that this group does cover. I'll put the link again in the chat in case anyone's interested. They have free handouts, resources, a lot of podcasts and videos, etc. If you go onto my channel, I posted one of their videos for sure. And I have a whole playlist about feedback and conversations and how to take it better. So I shared that playlist publicly. So I have several playlists, one on like kind of privacy and on the internet and how to stay safe with your identity, that sort of thing. I have I have all sorts of playlists that I've kind of saved over the years, and then I just made public because I just thought, why am I hoarding this stuff? So if it's helpful to anybody else, that'd be awesome. So if you are wondering like how to stay safe online with your identity, you've heard about these hacking things, that going on in chats. If you're worried about it, I have a whole playlist with some really great resources on how to stay safe.
Do you want to put your link too, so that if they want to check out all that stuff?
Sure. Thanks, Danielle. I didn't mean to plug myself. I was just saying.
No, go ahead. That's fine with me. No, I think you did. I think you did an awesome job at presenting all of that. I wish I was so organized when I was presenting information, but I just kind of wing it. I'm like,
well, it's helpful because it's like stuff that I've reviewed in my head so many times. It's helpful to speak.
Thank you, Graham Knott, for the $5 super chat. I believe this is for you, Allie. So I'll get your information after this.
No.
Over. Are you sure? Because that's what he wants me to do with it.
One day when you come over.
See, he said for Allie, Danny.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, I just have a lot of concert videos from when I've gone to a ton of shows over my life, but so my YouTube channel's a lot of old stuff, but I am revamping it and just redid my about section and kind of going to talk about stuff like this as well. Media effect on culture and vice versa, and how do we want to see the future of YouTube and media, and if we're going to be participants in it, how do we do it better? Because it's been rough recently.
Thank you so much, Gina, for the $10 super chat. Also, I appreciate it. And Bad Behavior, thank you so much for the $5 super chat.
You guys are so sweet.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Thanks for.
I love you guys. I love this community. Like, this is actually a really good community, and I think that people here want to learn and grow as individuals, just in their own everyday life. Like, I see people a lot of times like trying to help each other, like just with encouragement and support, and I think that that's really awesome.
I do too. We've seen a lot of negative, and it's cool to know that there's so many out there that actually do care to see a like softer side of this world, a way to cope. Journalists have their ways to deal with covering traumatic situations and interviewing different victims of trauma and that sort of thing. And I want to be able to bring that to YouTubers and to YouTube viewers to show that you do need to be careful with what you let in your mind and how to protect yourself. Yes, G-Love and Special Sauce was one that I covered very much so on my page. I have so many videos that from the past. Those are just a few that I didn't get copyright strikes on. So over the years, but I hope you guys will keep following Danielle and join me when I get
sub up to Ali's channel too. That way, she can share important information with you guys as well.
Yeah,
thank you, Troy, for the $5 super chat. I appreciate it. First ever. Oh, I feel so special. Like, thank you so much.
Sharing the love. That's so great.
He's probably sleeping, Graham.
Oh,
he has work early. But I bet you if I texted him right now and said to come smoke a cigarette with me, he would suddenly wake up.
What a champ.
Yeah, he's been nice to me. After all our differences, we've been friends so cool. Again. So yeah.
It's really amazing. Yeah, this can be rough out here on these YouTube streets, but it doesn't always have to be. There's always, somebody out there that's been through it or been through it worse or that can help.
Which doesn't minimize what you're going through
No.
neither if you are going through something.
It just
But,
means
you
there's
know,
help.
yeah, there's people who might know or have good advice or whatever, but you have to be open to receiving that as well.
Yep. All right. I think at least for me, and Pixie is really tuckered out, so I think we'll probably head out. I don't know if y'all can see she's tuckered.
Okay, well, thank you for coming and being a part of my stream. This is a great idea, and I appreciate it. You did a wonderful job.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I've been wanting to talk about this from what I've been watching from the sidelines, and I just hope the best for everyone and everyone. I mean, things that happen, they happen. It's up to us to choose how we look at it. Just
remember. And I'm very appreciative that you chose to come over here and share the information with me and my audience. And I think that everybody liked this stream, so we're getting good feedback. That's awesome.
Yep, I agree. We all get negative sometimes. I certainly do myself, and that's why it's nice to have a community of other people to kind of pick you up when you're not feeling great or to help you work through whatever that is. So just know there's always someone out there. There's always resources out there to work through whatever it is that you are dealing with. Okay.
Yeah, everyone show Allie some love.
Thanks, guys.
Sub to her channel. Share her information with her. Like, go see what she has to offer, because obviously it's a lot in there that she's just storing and waiting to share with the world. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of cat stuff too. Cat things. Because they make you laugh. They're silly. And sometimes you just need to imagine your life as a cat, because it seems so much. Look at that.
Lincoln Kane's going on in 15 minutes. That's fine. I'll put his link in the chat, actually, if everyone wants to do that, for the rest of the night, so that we're not bored. Can you put your link again in the chat?
Mine, yeah. Or Pixie's. Not maybe next year when she's older. She's not old enough for a channel yet, I don't think. Okay. Goof. All right. I'll let you say goodbye then, Danielle. I'll pop out. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Okay, and then I'm gonna put the show for Lincoln Kane in my chat. If you guys need somewhere to go after this, then go ahead and go to that show and click the notify me, whatever it says, and then it will let you know as soon as he goes live. And if we can continue whatever conversation over there in the chat. Oops. No problem, Legion of Truth. Anytime. It is what it is. You got to just deal with it, You're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Oh, what do you want to say, Gina? Go ahead. Good night, Carol H. Good night, Nance. Maybe I'll see you later at Lincoln's or wherever on the YouTube streets. Texas Granny, thank you for coming. The Orion Files. You say it with love. Well, say it, girl. Thank you, Just Me, for coming. It was a pleasure. Scott Free, I think this is your first time on the channel. Thank you for coming. Oh, thank you, Gina. I appreciate you so much. And Ali says, thanks for all the love and positivity. Positivity, says Pixie. You said it. Yeah, you did. Thank you. I appreciate that. Her name is Gold Eagle and everyone is calling her Gina. So confusing. Because I knew her by Gina in Minnesota first. That's why. Thank you for coming, Phil. You're always a pleasure. You always say very intelligent things in the chat. So I appreciate that also. Sancho. And yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's it for me as well. And thank you all for coming. Please hit the like button on your way out if you did not on your way in. And I will see you all later. Have a good night.